Oh my God! Get the hell out of here!
We can talk about Rodgers.
Out of here!
Okay, what is the need to bring up the Yankees?
It's just stuff to bring up because
Are you kidding me? Come on, dude! This came out of nowhere!
not. Clemson is a top team. Don't start with that. Clemson's a top team, no doubt, 100%.
Unless they're on Saturday, then they might move down.
Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back with episode number 65. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. If you're not, we have a really good episode here for you guys today. Of course, we're at 65. That means we got the go of the number right now, number 65. We made it all the way here. We're past 50. We're getting there, doing the grind. We're getting to 100. Mike, I'm going to start with you first. Who is your go of number 65?
Yeah, we're kind of in the mud a little bit with the golden numbers here. There's not really a bunch of enticing options here. So I'm going to have to go with Gary Zimmerman, despite, my smack talk about golden number 60s. He was a fantastic left tackle in the NFL, 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ. He's a part of the Hall of Fame 1980s and 1990s team. He was an absolute just a force on that offensive line. Alongside, I go to the number 64, Randall McDaniel, on that dominant Minnesota offensive line during the late 80s and early 90s. So he has to be my pick here.
That's a great pick. Tommy, who are you going to go with?
Yeah, that's a great pick, but I haven't picked a baseball player in a while, so we're going to go with somebody that just officially announced his retirement earlier this week. It's going to be Phil Hughes, former New York Yankee, Minnesota Twin, and Milwaukee Brewer. Now, Phil Hughes, I didn't mean Milwaukee Brewer, excuse me, San Diego Padre. But Phil Hughes, he's not quite the caliber of some of these other players. We all know that, but he did win a World Series with the Yankees in 2009. He was a one-time All-Star in 2010. He went to the All-Star game in Anaheim. And, he was solid for a little while. I don't know if there's too much to say about Phil. He had 88 career wins. He had a 4.52 career ERA, which, it's a little high. It's not what we want. But no, he was solid there for a little while. And I haven't picked a baseball player in a little while, so we're going to go with Phil Hughes today and congratulate him on his retirement.
I will have to say, I love when Tommy says he's not the caliber of Gary Zimmerman, but Connor, might as well give us your pick. Great pick, Tommy. Great pick.
Thank you.
I mean, a 4.52 ERA isn't that good of a stat. I think you should have kept that to yourself there, Tommy, and let the viewers go out and find that themselves. I'm going to have to agree with Mike here and go Gary Zimmerman. He said really all the stats. The only thing that I found interesting was that when you're an offensive lineman in the NFL, you often tend to miss games throughout an NFL season or an NFL career. And Gary Zimmerman lined up every Sunday, did not miss a single game in his entire career. So that's something that is shows a work ethic of an offensive lineman in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with the three of you guys. Not Tommy, unfortunately, but I think Gary Zimmerman is my pick here. He had a great stint with the Minnesota Vikings, arch rival of mine. And then he also had a great career with the Denver Broncos, obviously protecting John Elway. So I think that's a really good thing to look at. And he also has a Super Bowl over the Green Bay Packers. So he's been a great offensive lineman. He's part of the NFL history, Hall of Famer, and he's got to be my pick for number 65.
Well, we've got a great episode of Go Chat for you. The NFL wildcard weekend starts off on Saturday. 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. We're going to come back and break all those games down for you, kind of give us some of our picks. We do have the 3 Saturday games are going to be our GOAT picks this week, so we won't go too much into detail with those or give necessarily picks. We'll break it all down for you when we come back.
Welcome back to Go Chat. In this segment, we are going to go over the wild card weekend. We have 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. We got a bunch of good ones here, and we're going to go over all of it for you guys. So first, on Saturday, we got the Bills and Colts at 1, the Rams and Seahawks at 4, and then the Bucs and football team at 8. Let's go with the Colts and Bills first. Matt, what do you think about this game? Who do you think is going to come up on top?
I really like the Colts team, but I don't think they're going to stand any chance against Buffalo. Buffalo has been one of the hottest teams in the past couple of weeks. Josh Allen had a terrific first half against the Dolphins last week. He's had a terrific game against the Patriots, and even before that, since his slump midseason. So I think I got the Bills here. I think they're going to win. I really like the Colts defense. I really like their team in general, like Frank Reich, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Bills. I think the Bills are one of the very strong teams that could honestly potentially take down the Kansas City Chiefs if it came to that in the conference finals, in the AFC conference finals.
Tommy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with you. That defense there for the Colts, they're outstanding. They had a really good year. But like you said, Matt, Josh Allen, I think he's going to be the difference maker for sure. He was in the top 5 in passing yards this season in the NFL. He helped lead the Bills to a 13-3 season, their first division title, and I forget how many years. It's been a really long time with the run of the Patriots there. So, I certainly think that he's going to play a big role in this game. They have Stephon Diggs as well, who he'll make an impact as well. So, I think that the Colts, can they stop them? Of course they can. But at the same time, I think that, that Bills offense is going to be a little too much for them to handle.
Connor, what do you think about this game?
The Colts, they're a really, really, really good team. I mean, they've led Frank Reich. They're 11-5. My big question mark here, I truly believe Buffalo can win the game, but my question mark is when they go up against good defenses, like how successful is Josh Allen? I mean, Tennessee has a decent defense, and when they played on that Tuesday night game a while ago, he played pretty bad. Tennessee won that game 42-16. He then lost to the Chiefs the following Monday night, who have an okay defense there. I don't know. I can be a believer of the Bills. I think they can play incredibly well. But the Colts deserved a spot in the playoffs, and they're here. And Phillip Rivers, this is probably his last run at it. I would be very surprised if he didn't retire this offseason, and the Colts potentially made a move in the offseason for a quarterback. Maybe Matt Stafford from Detroit. I think he might be done in Detroit. But the Colts are going to put everything they can into winning this game. They know that they're the underdogs, and they're a team that's 11-5 and really haven't been underdogs a lot this entire season. They definitely have potential to win this game. I just think that the Buffalo offense may be a little overpowering.
So who do you think is going to win?
I'm going to take the Bills.
Okay.
Finally, jeez.
I didn't know we were giving picks.
Well, I mean, I'm just surprised you picked the Bills since you haven't believed in like the whole season. Just,
All right. Well, as good as I think the Colts are, I think that they are a really, really good team. One of the best defenses in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor is really starting to pick it up. I feel like the path to victory for the Colts is to pound the ball with Jonathan Taylor. He just had 250 rushing yards last week. He hit 1,000 rushing yards for the whole season. He's really turned it on since week 11. He's averaging 100 yards per game. And obviously that defense, top 3 in the NFL, great rush, great against the rush, great against the pass. Those two are the keys to winning for me for the Colts. But I do think that the Bills are just the superior team. They've lost 3 games all season, and one of them was on a Hail Mary against the Cardinals. They've been one of the hottest teams in that whole NFL, if not the hottest. Connor, you were talking about that Josh Allen hasn't played well against good defenses. They just played Miami last week, who finished 10-6 with a really good defense. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns. They beat the Steelers. Josh Allen had a really good game then. They beat your guy Matt Salah in San Francisco. One guy that you always say that could be a possible head coaching candidate, and he's a great defensive coordinator. And he had one of the best games of his whole career, throwing for 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. So ultimately, I think the Bills are just going to be too much for the Colts. I feel like they have too many weapons, and their defense is pretty stout in their own right. So I'm going to take the Bills here. But I still think it's going to be a good game, but I'm looking for the Bills to come out on top.
I just think the other thing here with the Bills is we remember last year they were in a wild card matchup against the Texans, and they had a decent lead, and then they kind of they blew it up. So I mean, obviously, you don't ever want to see that happen to a team. Obviously, I don't like the Bills. They're AFC rival, but I mean, when it comes to a young quarterback like Josh Allen, you can play great throughout the regular season, but when those lights get bright in the postseason, it's going to come down to who can play better. And it's a seasoned vet in Phillip Rivers versus a young Josh Allen with great teams around him. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yep, it's definitely going to be interesting to say the least. All right, let's move on to the next game. Rams and Seahawks. There have been reports that Jared Goff is doubtful for this game. He just had surgery on his thumb. He tore a ligament in his hand, so he had to have surgery for that. They beat the Cardinals to get into the playoffs. So, and they're facing off against their NFC West rival, the Seattle Seahawks. I'll start with you, Connor. We'll go back around the circle. Connor, who do you think is going to win this game, and what do you think about it?
Look, John Wolford played decent last week against a Cardinals defense that was really trying to win a game. When you're going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense, yes, they may have been really bad against the pass this year, but when it's John Wolford who's passing the ball against you, and I don't know who was out last week. Cooper Kupp was out last week with COVID protocols. I'm not sure if he's going to be back on the field this week or by Saturday or not, but I don't know. The Seahawks are just going to be too outmatched. Russell Wilson, he really hasn't been playing his best football as of late, but he's a guy that shows up in the playoffs year in and year out. He always finds his way there, and then that's when he plays his best. I think he's going to turn it up an extra notch, and the Seahawks are going to win.
Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Connor. I think that Jared Goff being out really hurts the Rams for sure. But, Russell Wilson, like you said, he hasn't had the year that, some were hoping for. And I'm sure that, he was expecting more out of himself, but he still put together a pretty good year. He's ranked 9th in passing yards in the NFL this year, with over 4,000, 4,200. So, it's still respectable numbers, even though, it hasn't quite been what he was hoping for. And, still had a really good year as a team, 12-4. They put together a pretty solid season there in Seattle. So, I certainly think that they will get the win. And, if Jared Goff is out, I think that, that about seals the deal. But, you got to play the game. You never know. But for me, it's got to be the Seahawks.
Yeah, Matt, are you kind of aligned with Connor and Tommy, or are you going to take the Rams here?
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it lightly. I don't have to ramble on. No Jared Goff, no win. That's how it's gonna be. I love their defense, but I just don't think Wolford is gonna bring a W to LA.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. Especially with the Seattle Seahawks defense really turning up the last half of the season. Over their past 8 games, they've only allowed 16 points per game, and I feel like that's super impressive considering where they started from. Allowing 400 plus yards to Cam Newton and 31 points to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. But once again, Jared Goff is out. I was super doubtful of the Rams' chances with Goff in. I feel like they're completely gone with him being out. So I love the Seahawks here too. Anything else to say on this game? No. All right, let's move on to Sunday night matchup. Bucks and the football team. The football team came out with an NFC East victory against the Eagles on Sunday. Very controversial, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the playoff matchup. So, Tommy, tell us what you think about this matchup and who's coming out with the victory.
Yeah, I mean, Washington, they won the division, but we all know in the NFC East, it wasn't a great year for them. They won the division with a losing record. They went 7-9. So, you look at that and then you take a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and, they kind of underachieved, in the view of some people because they have Tom Brady, they have Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Ronald Jones had a really good year. They went 11-5. They put together, a respectable year, but at the same time, they probably could have gotten a couple more wins there. But it's got to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for me. I mean, I think that, Washington is a good team. We saw them beat the Steelers earlier in the season, but I just don't think It's going to be enough to beat the Buccaneers. But, I think they could make it close, but it's going to be Tampa Bay.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's gonna be Tampa Bay. As much as I'd want to say Washington's gonna win, I don't think they're gonna be ready for it. Their offense didn't even look that fantastic against Philly. Not like their offense against Pittsburgh or when they were hitting their peak in the regular season. And their defense is great. Chase Young, that whole defensive line, it's great, but it's not gonna match up against Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, Gronk, if Gronk even shows up, just anyone on Tampa Bay. I just think Tampa Bay's a heavy favorite here, and I'm gonna have to agree.
Connor, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be a closer game than a lot of people are saying. They're saying that the Bucks are favored by 10 points right now on ESPN. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, only because we saw an injury to Mike Evans on Sunday. Obviously, we don't know his status for the game. It was like a knee hyperextension on a non-contact injury. So that's always tough to see someone of his caliber go down on the field. But I mean, Washington has a great defense. I really think they're going to be able to get a lot of pressure on Brady. And when Brady has pressure on him, he kind of crumbles. He's a big pocket guy, and when that pocket is closing in on him, he kind of crushes under pressure. He's going to try to force the ball down the field, and if Mike Evans isn't playing, then it's Chris Godwin that's going to be down there and catch the ball, and that's not always a reliable answer when you only have one wide receiver. Antonio Brown played decent on Sunday. Rob Gronkowski's kind of showed up at the end of the year, but I mean, Washington has a really good team, and I think they can slow down the Bucks. I think the 10-point favorite is a little much. I have the Bucks winning, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think.
And Washington is the home team, so if that, they could win. I might have to change my pick just for that, but
yeah, listen, Connor. As much as I love the Washington football team defense, and as good as their defensive line is, I really think that Tampa Bay is going to come out and prove their might in this game. They have been one of the hottest teams in the NFL the past month. They're really peaking at the right time. And you said that Mike Evans got hurt on Sunday. He was present for the Bucks practice, and he did have an MRI showing no ligament damage. So that's good news for him. We still don't know if he's going to play. He probably won't be at 100%. But even if not, you said Antonio Brown had a decent game. 11 catches for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that's a little more than decent. That's a really fantastic game. The Bucks are peaking at the absolute right time, and they are coming to the playoffs super hot, and I'm not going to be surprised if they make it to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they've played the Falcons, and Lions.
I understand.
Slow down about them being super hot right now. I'm just saying. And they played the Vikings, which they should have lost if Dan Bailey knew how to kick a field goal.
I understand the competition they've played hasn't been necessarily up to par of teams like the Bills or something like that. But I still think that things are finally, really starting to click in Tampa. And I think they're a team to watch out for in the NFC.
I mean, they'll win. They'll win Saturday. I'll agree with you on that.
All right, moving on. The first game we got on Sunday is the Baltimore Ravens and Tennessee Titans. They have met before early in the season. The Titans won in overtime with a 30-24 victory. Very close game. So, Connor, I'll swing it to you first. What do you think about this game?
The Ravens are going to be playing with vengeance. I mean, we saw last year in the postseason, Tennessee eliminated Baltimore. Tennessee beat them in overtime. This year, like you just mentioned, 30-24. Baltimore's going to come in and they're going to play their absolute heart out because they don't want to lose again. They don't want any more Derrick Henry stiff arms. They don't want Derrick Henry making their defense look silly. But you know what? That's who Derrick Henry is. I mean, he eclipsed 2,000 yards on Sunday with another great game, another game over 200 yards. It's just Derrick Henry. That's the person that he is. And I mean, a lot of that credit goes to the offensive coordinator in Tennessee and Arthur Smith. But I mean, Tennessee has really been playing really good football. Yes, they had a close game with Houston, but they found their way to win. I mean, Ryan Tannehill made a great play. A.J. Brown made a great catch to get their team in field goal range. They are clicking on all cylinders. It's going to be close. Baltimore's favored in this game, although they're the wild card seed. I see Tennessee still taking this game. I think Tennessee could make another run like they did last year, where they find themselves in the AFC Championship game.
Good analysis, Matt. Are you sort of aligning with Connor is saying about the Titans and the beating the Ravens, or are you on the opposite side of the fence?
I'm gonna roll with the Ravens. I think that all they're gonna have to do is stop Derrick Henry. That who knows if they will, but if a team stops Derrick Henry, I don't think the Titans are that special. Derrick Henry got 60 yards against Cleveland, they lost that one. 98 against Green Bay, they lost that one. 75 against Pittsburgh, they lost that one. So I think you stop Derrick Henry, and I think the Ravens are going to know what they're going to do since they already played. That kind of gives them an advantage to learn what Derrick Henry does, and also could give an advantage to the Titans to learn what Lamar Jackson does. So I think it could go either way, but Baltimore's just they've been looking pretty good. Not the hottest team in the AFC and NFC, but they've just been clicking from a little slump that they had earlier this year. So I'm going to go with them.
Tommy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Connor on this one. I think that the Titans are just the better team all around. You take a look at Derrick Henry. You brought up some of those stats, Connor, but he was second in the NFL in rushing yards, and so were the Tennessee Titans in all of the NFL, and they were tied for second in total yards as a team. So I think that their offense is going to be enough to get past the Ravens, but I certainly think that Lamar Jackson, he'll definitely make an impact on the game, and he could get the win there for Baltimore. But I just think that overall Tennessee is a stronger team, and they're going to come away with the victory on Sunday.
Before the season started, I picked the Titans as my AFC South winner. Throughout this whole season, I really thought that they're one of the stronger teams in the AFC, but I think their defense has been a lot worse than what it should be, allowing 38 points to the Texans last week and 40 to the Packers, and then 40 to the Browns a couple weeks earlier. It's just not something that you want to see around a playoff team, right? As good as their offense is with Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Ryan Tannehill, fantastic, top 3 offense in the NFL. But it's going to be really hard for me to see them stopping a hot Ravens team, like you mentioned, Matt, with J.K. Dobbins, who just rushed for like 160 yards on like 13 attempts last week against the Bengals. It's going to be a really close game, but I'm still going to take the Ravens in this one. Like Connor, you mentioned before, I really think that vengeance is going to come out, and it's really going to power this Ravens team and Lamar Jackson to secure their first postseason victory.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really close game.
Mm-hmm. All right, we kind of covered that one. Let's move on to the Chicago Bears, New Orleans Saints at 4:00. Bears squeaked into the playoffs with a Cardinals loss against the Rams. Matt, I'll swing it to you first. They're your NFC foe, or technically the Packers, but what do you think about this one?
I would love for the Bears to win, but I think it's gonna be a really close game. I think it's gonna be closer than people think. Just because the Bears are the 7th seed and Saints are the 2, they're people are automatically gonna think that the Saints are gonna win. But I think it's gonna be close. They've played before. That game went into overtime. But the Saints are number 2. I'm not gonna go against them. It's just gonna look really bad if the Bears win. But or it would look really bad if the Saints won, if I picked the Bears. But really hoping for the Bears to win. Maybe they could throw in Nick Foles. He could bring in some of that playoff magic that he has, and they could win.
Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a good game. I have to go with the Saints here. I think that, with Alvin Kamara and Drew Brees, I just think that they're, the overall better team. But at the same time, the Bears, they were 8-8. They got off to that really good start, right? And then they kind of slowed down from there. But, I think they could, but I definitely have to go with New Orleans here. I think that, they're just stronger overall. But, it'll be interesting to see for sure. But I got to roll with the Saints.
Connor, are you going to rock the boat a little bit with the Bears, or are you rolling with the Saints?
If this was the 12-4 Bears team from a couple years ago that lost in the wild card team, I'm still not picking them. The Saints have just been so good this entire year. Even when Drew Brees was out with his broken ribs and what he had going on, they still looked really good. And now all signs are looking towards Drew Brees is also going to be ending his career this year, according to multiple reports by Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, big names in the NFL journalistic area. So with Drew Brees looking to end his career, everybody in New Orleans, that team is going to rally around him and try to get him another Super Bowl ring. What they're going to do, whatever it has to take. He's gonna go out there and do whatever he has to do, and they're in for a deep run in the NFC playoff competition.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I really don't think the Bears stand a chance. Really, their formula to victory to get into the playoffs was riding David Montgomery and the beast he's been over the last like third of the season. But that guy absolutely shut down against the Packers, and Mitch Trubisky really struggled. David Montgomery had a horrible game, and if David Montgomery can't get it going against the New Orleans Saints, which has probably the best rush defense in the NFL, if not top three, they have no shot. I'm taking the Saints here. They probably win by 10 plus points easily. But yeah. All right, let's head into our last game. The Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers. They did play in Week 17. Cleveland beat them 24-22. They also played earlier in the season. I think the Steelers blew them out by like 30-something points. But what do you think about this game? Tommy, I'll swing it to you first.
Yeah, I got to go with the Steelers here. They're my team. And you mentioned that they did lose to the Browns in the final week of the regular season. But I think that, you can't worry too much about that game because Mason Rudolph was the starting quarterback in that one. And I think once you get Ben Roethlisberger in there, he'll definitely be a difference maker. And, we saw they got off to that great start when their first 11 games. And, they struggled a little bit to the finish line, but, I think they're going to be ready to go for the postseason. Big Ben's playing a lot of, playoff games and important games throughout his career. So I think that the Steelers will, they're ultimately going to get the victory, but you got to recognize the Browns, they had a really good year, made the playoffs for the first time since 2002. So, that is an accomplishment, but I think that the Steelers are the better team here.
Connor, what are you thinking here?
These are two teams going to completely different directions. The Steelers started off 11-0, and they're finishing the season 12-4, finishing their last 5 games at 1-4. Obviously, I mean, Mason Rudolph there in Week 17, sure, we'll give them the pass. Cleveland had to struggle to get a win there, but at the end of the day, Baker Mayfield still did what he had to do to get a win there, and they've looked really good this second half of the year. Yes, a loss in Week 16 to the Jets isn't something that you want on your ledger when you're going into the NFL playoffs, or you have to go into Week 17 to fight for your way in. But if anything, I think that loss, I mean, we heard it from Kevin Stefanski, and we heard it from Baker Mayfield after that game, is that it's going to sting for a while. It's going to be embarrassing, but they're going to take that embarrassment and they're going to fuel the fire. Obviously, news came out on Tuesday morning that Kevin Stefanski isn't going to be coaching the game on Sunday due to COVID. They also are out without their left tackle, Joe Patonio. Their offensive coordinator is going to be calling the plays. Maybe that has some significance over the game. I'm sure it probably will without Kevin Stefanski there on the sideline. But I think the Browns can win this game.
Are you picking the Browns?
That's what. Yes.
Okay. Matt, what's your analysis here?
I'm gonna go with the Steelers. The Browns barely got past the Steelers JV team. They played their wide receivers.
Hang on. It wasn't a JV team. The only starter that wasn't on the field was Ben Roethlisberger
And TJ Watt, and I'm pretty sure Cameron Hayward too. I mean,
Okay,
you're talking about potentially a defensive player of the year. You're talking about your quarterback, which is arguably the most important position on the offense. Mason did play pretty good. And then it was Cameron Hayward and I think a few more defensive pieces. So
we
maybe
still
not.
can't call this team a JV team when you have Chase Claypool out there, you have Juju out there, You have James Conner still running the ball. That's not a JV team. That is their team without their starting quarterback and a defensive. Like, come on.
What do you want me to call it, Connor? What do you want me to call it?
A team that rested starters. Not a JV team.
Well, it's pretty much their second string quarterback coming in at the quarterback position. They got to throw the ball to, okay, whatever. Anyways, I think you put in Ben Roethlisberger in the offense, back into the offense. He struggled a little bit, but this is the playoffs. This is what he shows up for. You bring back TJ Watt, who is potentially a defensive player of the year candidate, and you throw in a little more of those guys that you rested on defensively. And this team is back to what they've been doing, and that's winning. You saw them show up in the second half of the Colts. I think they're going to bring that mentality. They brought some pretty good mentality against the Browns last week too. I mean, I thought they could have won. It was a really close game. I think Baker and the Browns are really lucky to get out of that, but they do deserve a spot in the playoffs. They played great, but I'm going to go with the Steelers, especially with this COVID outbreak too, with the Browns. All signs to me point to the Steelers.
Yeah, Matt and Tommy, I have to 100% agree with you here. It's going to be the Steelers. Steelers arguably had their three best players out. Just the Steelers have been really good all season. The Browns have kind of been wishy-washy. They got blown out by the Steelers early in the season when they were at full strength. And I really think the Steelers are making a move back to the peak that they hit early in the season when they went 11-0.
How can you say they're making a move back to that when they finished their last 5 games 1-4?
Because they made an extremely impressive comeback against the Indianapolis Colts, who have a top 3 defense in the NFL, right?
So their only win in the last 5 seasons points to the fact that they're going to go on another streak like they did and being hot as they were. Yes, Indianapolis is a great team, but one win when you're down 24-7 and you come back and you win, that doesn't point all signs to being great again.
I understand that, but I'm saying that they are improving to the downfall that they had later in the season, okay? The Browns, they lost the Jets. They barely beat the Steelers 1.5 stringers. There you go, Connor. Is that better for you? The 1.5 string team, okay? The Steelers are going to win this game by a touchdown or more, and they're going to really show their might. Kevin Stefanski being out is going to really affect their team. Their starting left tackle is going to really affect their team. We know that the Cleveland's offense is primarily based around their running game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and their starting offensive tackle is really going to affect their running game. So I'm taking the Steelers here. There's really no doubt in my mind. I thought that this was an easy pick, but I guess you had other thoughts, Connor, and that's fine with me.
Jeez. Connor, you really think the Browns are going to win? You've been a believer of the Steelers too.
I have been. I picked the Steelers to win the division. Yeah. You guys all looked at me like I had 4 heads when I said that because you guys were all sales on the Ravens, and I knew it was going to happen. Yes, the Steelers are a very good team. They finished 12-4 for a reason. They started the season 11-0 for a reason. But when the two teams are going 2 completely different ways, I mean, we had Ben Roethlisberger up on a post-game press conference a couple weeks ago saying that he's really sucking right now and that if he continues to suck, he's going to call it quits. That's another quarterback that could retire this year because he's contemplating it because his play hasn't been up to where he wants to be. Look, the Browns defense, yes, it gives up a lot of points, but at times they can be really, really good. And the Steelers offense has been so one-dimensional all year. James Conner has been like a missing person all season. They haven't had a real true run game. So when you go in and you're playing a division rival in the wild card team after already seeing them twice and having doubled the amount of gameplay that you can see, and you really study their passing game because that's all the Steelers do, it's going to be enough fuel to the fire to their defensive coordinator and to their defense. And Mike mentions how Cleveland got blown out earlier this year. That's just adding more fuel to the fire. We talked about how in the Tennessee and Baltimore matchup, how the Baltimore's going to come in with a vengeance. Cleveland's going to come in with a vengeance because they're a playoff team that's been slept on. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2002. And even still, after all the success that they've had this year, they're still being slept on when they've made the playoffs. Yes, they're going up against a 12-4 team in the wild card matchup, but the Browns are a dang good team. They're a very good team. Baker Mayfield's playing well. We saw in week 16 when he didn't have any receivers that he doesn't play well. He had 3 fumbles. The receivers come back in week 17. He's able to hook up with Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's able to hook up with Jarvis Landry. They have good connections there. And then when the Browns offense can go to their wide receivers, then you also have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt there in the backfield. They're a 2-dimensional offense, where when you're a 2-dimensional offense going up against a 1-dimensional offense, I think it's going to be a Browns win. And Mike mentions a touchdown or more for the score differential. I just think that's crazy.
Okay, well, I think that's enough about the Steelers and Browns. We've kind of gone back and forth with this. Before we head into our next segment, let's give our Super Bowl picks. Who's meeting up in the Super Bowl and who's going to win it all? Just looking down the line. I'll throw it to you, Matt. Who do you got?
I got the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers. I think Green Bay wins it, but I'm going with Buffalo. I think they're strong enough to beat Kansas City. I mean, it would blow my mind. I just don't know if Kansas City's gonna two-peat. They're a team that can be beat. I think people are saying, oh, they can't get beat. They're 100% a team that can get beat, and I think Buffalo's gonna bring a lot of firepower to the table.
Tommy, who do you got?
This is a tough one. I think that is a good pick. At this point, I'm not quite sure. I will agree with you, Matt. I think that it could be the Bills and the Packers for sure. I think the Bills have had a really good year. We mentioned it's the first time they've won the division in quite a while. And the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, he's put together a good year. And, they've been strong for the past few years. And I think, it's their time to get back to the Super Bowl.
Connor, what about you?
So the Chiefs are going to make it in the AFC. That's just what it is. Mike, okay. Matt, you make a face. I mean, the Chiefs already beat the Bills.
You can't say they're going to make it like it's definite.
They already beat the Bills once this year, and if the Bills are their top competition, listen, the Chiefs,
God, the Chiefs that can get beat.
The Chiefs are my odds-on favorite to make the Super Bowl and to repeat. But if I had to choose someone that they're going to beat in the NFC, it's going to be probably the Packers.
Okay. Listen, I think the Bills could definitely come out on top of the AFC. Well, I think. Do I think they will? No, I'll take the Chiefs in the AFC, and I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction with the Bucs. I really think that they're heating up. And call me crazy, but I think that they have a real shot at making the Super Bowl. This is kind of like me sticking with my guns here. If it's not the Bucs, I think it's definitely going to be the Packers. They've really shored up the one weakness they had, which was their run defense. Stifling Derrick Henry and David Montgomery the past 2 weeks. I think they've done a great job with both of them. So I'll take the Bucs and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
There you have it. Definitely going to be a really fun playoffs to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to the AFC mostly with that jam-packed conference. But like Mike said before, we got another segment coming up next. It's the GOAT picks. Then we got the GOAT of the week to wrap up this episode. Welcome back to GOAT Chat. We are back with the GOAT picks. Leaderboard is up. Tommy's in first for the first time ever?
I know. Can you believe it? It's probably not going to be for long, though. I'm sure that I'll lose the lead this week, but we'll see.
We got Tommy, Mike, Connor, myself. We got 3. We're putting the 3 AFC games in this. So we all picked the Bills. We all picked the Seahawks. And we all picked the Buccaneers. But we also have an NBA game for this episode. That is between the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks. Is that right?
Yes.
That's right. Okay. Dallas Mavericks and Denver Nuggets. Tommy, you're first. Who are you going to pick?
I'm going to have to go with the Nuggets here. I don't know. I don't have too much to say about this game. I just think that the Nuggets are going to come out on top in this one.
Mike?
I think it's going to be a close game, but I just think with Porzingis being out, I think the Nuggets are going to take advantage of his absence and are going to come out on top on this one.
Connor?
Well, I'm going to go with the Mavs here. I think Luka played a really good game the other night. I think he's starting to get into the flow of the season. We're just going to keep his numbers going up on the rise, so I think the Mavs are going to win this game.
Luka Doncic. Of course, I'm going with the Mavericks. It's gonna be a good game either way. Both teams kind of on a slow start, 3-4 and 2-4. So really look forward to that game. But wraps up GOAT picks. We got that done quickly. We got the GOAT of the week coming up next. See you guys there. Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back with the GOAT of the week. Leaderboard is up. I won last week with Alvin Kamara. That's not a surprise at all. I don't know why we even had to have a voting, but whatever. Got another good slate for you guys. Got 4 great athletes that we all picked. I'm gonna start with you, Connor. I know that you're gonna go with someone that I'm not a fan of, but might as well just give your spiel now.
So on New Year's Day, the Ohio State Buckeyes defeated the Clemson Tigers in the college football semifinal. I was the only one on GoChat that thought it could happen. And I mean, they won by 21 points. Here we are. We're talking. Justin Fields had an absolutely terrific game. He threw for 385 yards. He had 3 touchdown passes of 40 yards or more. I mean, that's just incredible. He threw 6 touchdowns, a college football playoff record. He had the same amount of touchdowns as he had incompletions. He went 22 for 28. And in the second quarter, he got hit very illegally, a targeting penalty right into the ribs. He was probably playing with a broken rib or two and was able to go out there and play absolutely incredible. 385 yards, 6 touchdowns. He outdueled Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, fumbled the ball a couple times, threw an interception. Look, Justin Fields had a great game, and he's so deserving of GOAT of the week for going out there and putting team first, playing with an injury, and playing his ass off.
Let's rewind there. How many touchdowns did he get?
6.
That's not the most for a college football playoff game.
That's why I saw it online.
Burrow got 7 though against Oklahoma.
Well, then what I read was inaccurate then.
Connor, coming with false information. You're lucky I caught that. A great pick either way. I'm not a fan of his, but it's still a great pick nonetheless. He played great. Tommy, who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great pick. I'm probably not going to win, but I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. He put together a really good game in Week 17 against the Lions. The Vikings won 37-35. And he had 3 touchdowns, over 400 yards he threw for. So, he put together another really good week. So he's my GOAT of the week.
What happened with your speaker?
Oh, my speaker. Oh, you know what I did? I have the stats written down and I moved it right over the speaker. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's all good. You can't forget he did the gritty too, which was absolutely amazing to see.
There you go.
Great pick. Mike, who are you going to go with?
I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, King Henry. He's been the king of the GOAT of the week for like this whole season. I don't know how many GOATs of the week he's won for all of us here, but he had 250 rushing yards against the Texans on Sunday, 2 touchdowns, and he is one of 8 running backs all time to eclipse 2,000 yards for the season. He's 5th all time right now with 2,027 yards on the whole season. He was absolutely phenomenal this year. He's very deserving of Offensive Player of the Year. That's a different discussion we can have, but he really capped off his whole fantastic season with an even better Week 17 against the Houston Texans. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolutely monster performance by him.
Okay, we're gonna rewind again. Mike, this isn't GOAT of the season. It's GOAT of the week, like you said.
I knew that was coming. I understand, but he accomplished all of this in this week.
Right, but
listen, it's not my fault that you couldn't explain that to the viewers, Connor. Okay, I'm defending myself, and my pick, Derrick Henry, capped off an amazing season this week.
You didn't pick the best running back of Week 17, though. I think Mike's gonna enlighten us, or Matt is gonna enlighten us.
No, I did it. Mike picked the running back.
No, because I will tell you one thing. This guy had more rushing yards than Derrick Henry. He had a better average yards per carry than Derrick Henry, the same amount of touchdowns and 1 less fumble, and he is much younger, and that's Jonathan Taylor. Taylor played a great game against Jacksonville. 2 touchdowns, 253 yards, and 30 rushes, which means 253 divided by 30. Quick math. I'm a genius. It's 8.43. I'm not reading this on the screen here. So he just had a better game than Derrick Henry, and that's it. I mean, Derrick Henry's got the name, but Jonathan Taylor played better. And you want to throw in Derrick Henry's little spiel about how he did so good this season, but this past week, Derrick Henry was not the best runner of the football. It was definitely Jonathan Taylor, the young rookie, capping off his season. Might as well just make it that.
You know what? I'd have to disagree. He was going against the sorry Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, they really had to lose.
Oh my God! Derrick Henry was going up against the sorry Houston Texans.
But they're a much better team than the Jaguars.
They're not much better on defense. The Houston Texans have a pretty sorry defense and J.J. Watt. I will not put J.J. Watt in that sorry defense column, but it is a pretty bad defense with J.J. Watt. They're both awful defenses.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up Go of the Week.
You know who does have a good defense though? The Clemson Tigers. And you know who had a great game against the Clemson Tigers?
All right, that wraps up Go of the Week.
Field.
Go of the Week. That wraps up episode 65. Fantastic episode, you guys. You know, we had a great discussion about the NFL wild card. We had a fun Go of the Week segment, and we will see you next time for episode 66.
Justin Fields.
Listen, I will tell you why you don't vote for Justin Fields, because this guy, Connor, he comes in here. He's like, oh, Justin Fields has the most touchdowns in playoff college football.
Got his stats wrong.
That was just wrong. It's just wrong. How can you trust this guy giving you your
He's
stats?
blatantly lying to the Go Chat audience.
Relax now. Relax now.
He's lying. The touchdowns, college football playoff touchdown record goes to King Joe Burrow. No one else. No one else.
No, if we're talking about Kings, it's King Henry. See, Matt, I was on your side until you came at me. Now I'm all King Henry here.
He is no king. He gave that crown to Aaron Rodgers in week 16 because he was stopped. And he's going up against this.
Was Aaron Rodgers the one out there tackling Derrick Henry and stopping Derrick Henry?
Yeah, you didn't watch that game? He was out there tackling him. You didn't see it?
Oh, I didn't. I must have missed 12 being on defense.
Come on, Connor. At least I'm not giving them false information about Jonathan Taylor here.
All right. Well, I think that
You can't read a paper correctly. I'm sorry. You get your information from Twitter Junior or something.
All right. I think that actually wraps up episode 65. Great discussion with the wild card weekend. Great Go of the Week segment. All right. And we will see you guys for episode 66. Peace out.